Amid sexual harassment allegations leveled against the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the Red Chamber on Thursday passed a vote of confidence on its presiding officer. The decision followed a brief debate on a motion sponsored by the Senate leader Okpeyemi Bamidele. In his presentation, Senator Bamidele said there was no time in the 10th Senate that a sexual harassment claim was reported by Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan or any female lawmaker for that matter. Bamidele equally insisted that those accusing Akpabio of being a judge in the matter are oblivious of provisions of Section 60 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, which gives the National Assembly powers to regulate itself. He said, while appreciating the concern of the public on this matter, the Senate will strictly be guided by their rules and conventions as provided by the Constitution. This decision is not unconnected with Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan's presentation of the Inter-Parliamentary Union session held in New York, where the Kogi Central lawmaker told them that the Senate president suspended her after submitting a petition alleging sexual harassment. The Deputy Senate President, Senator Baru Jubrin, who presided over Thursday's plenary session, noted that with the budget, which has now passed, demands that the legislature focus on its oversight functions. He reiterated that the matter is now before the court, and as such, the Senate should allow the legal system to take its course. What are your thoughts on this report, sir?
Yes, I really have a lot to say on this, but considering the fact that the matter is already in court, so going by our rules, I will be limited to say certain things. But my thought on this, it's simple. Section 60 of the Constitution, yes, gives the Senate power to regulate itself. But that doesn't mean that the regulations and rules of Senate will now infringe constitutional rights of a representative and her constituents or senatorial district members. Section 36 allows for fair hearing.
Right.
Yes, I am really disappointed with what is happening in the Senate, because
do you think she was given fair hearing?
No. She was never given a fair hearing. When that matter happened, I posited it. We looked at the Section 36 of the Constitution, which talks of fair hearing. Okay, she was not given fair hearing. Now you see the distraction of the Senate. They are trying to distract the public and international community that her claim was not based on sexual harassment, whether or not her petition, her claim, was based on sexual harassment or not. The ethics and privileges community ought to hear her out.
All right.
Okay? Or the uttering pattern. They must hear her out. Nemo Judas in Kazasua, you can't be a judge in your own matter. These are legal principles.
Let's talk about being judge in your matter. How best do you think this would have been handled as regards, them saying, the Senate is meant to structure and work on itself internally? What are your thoughts as regards being a judge on your own matter, like you rightly said? Akpabio sitting on his matter. I did see the clip of him collecting the petition when she, initially submitted it on a matter that, is posited against him. I want to gather your thoughts on that.
Akpabio is the Senate president.
Right.
And Akpabio is being allegedly, at this point, he's been accused until proven guilty or otherwise by the court of law.
Yes.
Okay. Let me borrow a leaf from the time when Senator Saraki was the Senate president. He was accused of corruption by the CCB, the Code of Conduct Bureau. Okay? And he stepped aside and submitted himself for investigation. CCB finished its investigation and insisted that they have something against him. And he was charged to CCT, the Code of Conduct Tribunal. All that lasted for a while until the man was found free. And he resumed his position as the Senate president. Nobody is asking Akpabio to vacate the office of the Senate President. This call, it's in line with character. It has to prove, it has to show that I have character, that I've been accused as a Senate President.
Right.
I should step aside. Oh, now if I were him, I would be the one asking the Ethics Committee to investigate the matter thoroughly so as to clear his name. So as to clear his name. Don't forget, this is the third high-ranking government official in the country, the number 3 citizen of Nigeria, is being accused by a colleague for sexual harassment. It is something Nigerians need to look in depth. Don't forget, suspending Natasha for 6 months, you have suspended the representation meant for the constituents for 6 months, and that is an aberration, that is unlawful, that is unconstitutional, because the Constitution allows for representation. There are 109 senatorial districts in Nigeria. Each district, the Constitution says, must be represented by a senator. And don't forget, this senator is representing a people. So when you suspend that senator above 14 days, the court have held otherwise.
Now, when
the court says you can't suspend a legislator for more than 14 days. So the Senate should look inwards. This is a call to them to look inwards. Let them look at their rules.
Right.
And shift grounds. They should reverse themselves, and possibly they can reduce the suspension to be lawful. Despite the fact that Section 60 have allowed them to make regulations and to regulate themselves.
Eternally.
But that doesn't mean your regulations will violate the rights of constituents. The Senate should also know that the people of Kogi West could bring an action against them because of lack of representation. Article 13 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights says a people must be represented. It is a right. It is inalienable. And we are saying, Senate, even though Natasha may have infringed on the rules and procedures of the House, reverse the suspension within the time bound by the law, and which the court have given a pronouncement that you cannot suspend a legislator more than 14 days. So having suspended Natasha for 6 months, that you have infringed on her right of fair hearing, number one, and you have infringed on the rights of the constituents of lack of representation.
Now, what are your thoughts as regards Natasha going to IPU?
Yes, don't forget, before Natasha left that Senate House that day, she made a comment. She said, this injustice will not be sustained. See, in pursuit of justice, parties most times, go wide in search of justice. Possibly, Natasha suspects that her voice is being gagged. So she wants a platform where she could be held, a platform where can compel the Red Chamber to do the rule of law. And Nigerian Senate, it's a subsidiary or a certified member of the IPU. So I think they have some internal arrangement on how to strengthen lawmaking process, how to possibly give grants to lawmakers in maybe third world nation or something. So I believe she running to IPU not to embarrass the nation, but I think it is still part of the search for justice. So she shouldn't be penalized so much. She should be given a platform to be heard. I will advise that the Ethics and Privileges Committee should reverse that decision. They should make the suspension to be in line with what the provisions of the law says, what their own rules of Senate says. Their own rules says 14 days. And the court have given it a pronouncement that you can't suspend a legislator for more than 14 days. So please, the Senate, kindly reverse Natasha's suspension and look into what she has complained. Whether or not she has lied to us, she should be heard.
Thank you so much for that.